Good evening, members and guests, and welcome to our Planning Your Brighter Retirement webinar. My name is Peter Hoban, and I'm a member account manager here at Brighter Super. And with me today is one of our fantastic financial advisors, Gabby Williams. Tonight, we look forward to discussing with you a range of topics, including how much you may need to retire, different ways to grow your super, and how to put a plan in place to achieve your goals. If you would like to ask a question throughout tonight's presentation, you can submit your question by clicking on the blue hand at the top of your screen. Before I start today's briefing, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are meeting and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We acknowledge and celebrate the continuation of a living culture that has a unique role in this region. I would also like to advise you that the information we're presenting today is general information and general advice only. It has been prepared without taking into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. You must not rely on the information alone as a sole or primary source of advice or guidance for the purpose of making decisions about your superannuation options. Now, the purpose for tonight's presentation is to explore the important question of how much you may need to achieve a comfortable retirement. We're going to be doing this by focusing on three key areas. We'll have a look at what is the definition of a comfortable retirement and how much is recommended. We're going to have a look at the options for getting your super working harder. And we're also going to have a look at how you can access an income in retirement. Gabby will then discuss some of the tools that we have available to our members, such as an investment risk profiler and the retirement income calculator. The information we're covering tonight is general in nature, and it does take a high-level look at retirement planning. Pardon me. There will be a lot of information covered, so please take away what is valuable to you. In the resources icon to the top right-hand corner of the webinar page, you will be able to download our reference guide, and this will provide you with some helpful information. The icon you're looking for is a blue pointing down arrow. If you are going to act on anything discussed tonight, we really do encourage you to seek further guidance from a financial advisor who can consider your own personal circumstances. So, how do you start to find you're comfortable? Well, it all starts with a plan. It's never too early to start thinking about your future lifestyle. I'd like you to take a moment to think about what your comfortable lifestyle might look like. For a lot of members that I talk to, a comfortable retirement involves travel. Now, this might be the big overseas trip, ticking off those bucket list items, or it might be exploring our own beautiful backyard. For other people I speak to, it's all about family and friends, spending time with their loved ones and enjoying a range of activities together. We are all different, and we'll all have a variety of ideas as to what our comfortable looks like. Please make sure you take some time to start to plan for what your future is to be. Once you've got an idea as to what your future lifestyle looks like, you need to start thinking about how much money you'll need to maintain it. The Association of Super Funds of Australia, or ASFA, regularly surveys retirees who have paid off the mortgage and they're aged 65 or over, and they ask them what are they spending their money on. From that research, they've identified two types of lifestyle in retirement. There's modest and comfortable. For retirees living a modest lifestyle, it's probably going to be fairly conservative. It's unlikely that there would be money to travel overseas. Social activities would have to be closer to home. Take a minute to think about how much you're currently spending on your own lifestyle and see how it compares to those figures. Now, these figures are updated on a quarterly basis. Now that we've seen a modest, what does a comfortable lifestyle look like? Most of the members that I assist are looking forward to a lifestyle with a few more options. Based on ASFA's research, they've defined a comfortable lifestyle, including the following. Things like annual domestic and the occasional overseas travel. Being able to partake in social activities, including eating out 2 to 3 times a week. Maintaining a vehicle and your home. And keeping some mid-level private medical insurance. Again, I'd like you to take a moment to think about what type of retirement lifestyle you are aiming for. Now, it's not always about how much money you have, it's about how you manage it, which is why early action is vital. Brighter Super is right by your side every step of the way while you're working and into retirement. Let's have a look at how these figures translate into lump sums. For some members that we talk to, the age pension will be part of their retirement income. Others may prefer to be fully self-funded. If you are closer to retirement, chances are that the age pension will factor in, depending on your superannuation balance. We're going to take a closer look at the rules around the age pension a bit later. You'll also find these figures in your workbook, as I said, under the Resources tab in the top right corner of the screen. Now, due to the current high inflation environment, these numbers are changing rapidly. The figures we can see were current as at September 2022, when there was an inflation rate of 2.5%. However, inflation is now on or around 7%. We really do encourage you to get advice to ensure that you are taking into account your own personal circumstances. Either way, the key to achieving your comfortable lies in planning early and getting the right advice. Comfortable retirement. So, how do you get there? Well, super is an investment vehicle designed to provide an income in retirement. So it is important to consider the choices that you can make. The money that goes in, less the money that goes out, determines how you fund your lifestyle. Now, for any of our defined benefit members, this will be a little bit different. If you are a defined benefit member, please get in contact with us to get a little bit more detail. Some of our members may be required to contribute an additional employee contribution as part of their employment arrangements, whereas some members choose to contribute voluntarily to help grow their retirement benefit. Generally, you can choose to put these contributions in after tax as a non-concessional contribution or before tax as a concessional contribution. We're going to take a look at the considerations around these shortly. Money invested in your accumulation phase of super will grow based on how your money is invested. You do have the choice of different investment options with Brighter Super, and these can provide a suitable balance between risk and return. This is why it's so important to understand your investment options and seek further advice as to what's the right option for you. The cost of managing your super comes through administration and investment fees. These fees are adjusted from your earnings before they are applied to your account. Many members will also have insurance that may be part of their work arrangements. It is never too early to take control of your future income, and we are here to help. Let's take a closer look at how money gets into super, specifically in relation to how much you may be able to contribute. So as I said before, there are two types of super contributions, concessional or non-concessional. The concessional contribution limit for the current financial year is $27,500. Concessional contributions are made up of your employer contributions, salary sacrifice contributions, be they mandated or voluntary, and tax-deductible personal contributions. If you do exceed this concessional contribution cap, excess contributions are taxed at your marginal tax rate. Non-concessional or after-tax contributions mean that the marginal tax has already been deducted prior to entry into super. Under current legislation, you can contribute up to $110,000 per financial year. If you're under the age of 75, you may be able to bring forward up to $330,000 worth of contributions, depending on your total super balance. From the 1st of July 2022, there is no longer a need to meet a work test if you are making an after-tax contribution to super. However, if you are aged between 67 and 74 years, you will be required to meet the work test in order to claim a personal superannuation tax deduction. If you are going to be meeting the work test, you must be gainfully employed for at least 40 hours during a consecutive 30-day period in the financial year in which the contributions are being made. You can see there are plenty of considerations, so please seek advice. So what are the ways that you can contribute money to super? Well, it all depends on your overall taxable income. Australia has a tiered personal taxation system, which means we get taxed at a progressively higher rate the more that we earn. If you're earning between $45,000 and say $120,000 per annum, your overall marginal tax will be 32.5% plus the Medicare levy of 2% if that's applicable. If you're earning over $180,000 per annum, you'll probably be in the highest marginal tax bracket, which is 45 cents in the dollar, plus the Medicare levy of 2%. Let's see how these apply to super contributions. An after-tax contribution simply means the tax has been deducted prior to the money going into super. There's no tax on entry to the fund, and these contributions form the tax-free component within superannuation. If your employer allows you to salary sacrifice, or if you claim a tax deduction on your after-tax contribution, it is then taxed at a rate of 15% upon entry to the fund. For those earning between the $45,000 and $120,000, generally this means that you may be paying less tax on your super. So what is the best way to contribute? Well, it all depends on your personal circumstances, and you really should seek further advice to see what works best for you. But we can look at an example. Let's assume this member is looking to contribute $5,000 into their super, and they are earning between $45,000 and $120,000. If they were to make this $5,000 as an after-tax contribution, the tax paid on that would be $1,725. If their employer allowed them to salary sacrifice that amount, or they claimed a tax deduction for it, they could be saving around $975 based on the difference in those tax rates. Now, with that saving, it is up to you as to what you do with that money. You may have immediate financial commitments, or you may be looking towards the future. This can potentially be a great way to boost your retirement savings, remembering that it's all about lifestyle. Let's have a look at how this may impact on a member's retirement nest egg. We are introducing Tina here, a hypothetical Brighter Super member. Now, her situation may have similarities to yours, but please, we have not considered anyone in particular's personal circumstances in this scenario. Now, Tina has recently turned 55, and she is in a position to make extra contributions into her super. She's looking at putting that extra $5,000 per year via salary sacrifice. Now, the cost of this salary sacrifice, meaning the reduction in her take-home pay, is just over $60 a week. Based on the assumptions and considering her circumstances, Tina may actually be able to save money in tax and boost her super balance by contributing via salary sacrifice. And as you can see, small changes over periods of time can make big differences. A person may also be able to access any unused concessional contribution caps from previous years. Now, based on several criteria. This is what's called the carry forward contribution. These concessional carry forward contributions came into effect in the 2019-2020 financial year. And members who are eligible for this actually have up to 5 years to use any unused concessional contribution amounts. An example would be if a member has an unused concessional contribution amounts accrued in the 2019-2020 financial year, the last year that they're able to get those into super is actually the 24-25 financial year. Now, to be eligible for carry forward contributions, you must have a super balance under $500,000 at the start of the financial year in which those contributions are made. It's important to remember, concessional contributions may include employer contributions, salary sacrifice contributions, or tax deductible contributions. You are actually able to track your concessional contributions through MyGov. This can help if a member has taken time out of a workforce. Carry forward contributions can be an opportunity to get back on track for retirement. You do need to remember, any money put into super is generally only available once you reach your preservation age. For these strategies, we recommend seeking advice to make sure this is right for you. There are also other ways to get money in which you might be able to get extra money into your super. There's the government co-contribution. The federal government encourages people to save towards their own retirement. And there are a couple of arrangements for those on lower assessable incomes. You might be eligible for this government co-contribution if you make after-tax or non-concessional contributions into your super. It is particularly beneficial if your total income is less than the lower income threshold, which was around $42,000 for the 22-23 financial year. If you are eligible for this co-contribution, the Australian government will make a contribution of up to $500 or 50 cents in the dollar. Eligibility is determined using the lower and higher income thresholds, lower being 42,000 and higher being about 57,000. If you earn less than the lower income threshold, you might be able to receive the full $500 entitlement. If your income is between the lower and the higher thresholds, the maximum entitlement you can receive reduces as your income increases. Once you do reach that higher threshold, you are no longer eligible for that co-contribution. Another one may be a spouse contribution. If you or your spouse make an after-tax contribution of up to $3,000 to your partner's super, you'll help them grow their savings and you may be eligible for a little saving of tax yourself. To receive the full tax offset, which may be up to $540, your spouse must have an annual taxable income of less than $37,000. This offset gradually reduces for income above the $37,000 and completely phases out at a total annual income of above $40,000. There are rules apply to this, so please consider your own circumstances. Something else we want to talk about is the downsizer contribution. So if you're 55 and over and selling your home, your principal place of residence, you may be able to put part of the proceeds of that sale into your super. And this is in additional to the non-concessional or after-tax contribution cap. More information on eligibility should be found on the ATO website. Now for the downsizer, there's no need to meet the work test, regardless of your age. And it also does not matter what the balance of your super is. Now, these are only 3 of the conditions relating to the downsizer, and we encourage you to speak with us if you're considering it. Again, I would recommend checking the ATO website for information about the downsizer. Now, let's move on to how you can enjoy that income to support your retirement lifestyle. Hopefully by now you've got an idea as to how much you may need for retirement and be aware of some of the useful ways that you might be able to get yourself on track to achieve your goals. The main purpose of super is to give you an income in retirement. And I'm often asked, when can I retire? Well, the good news is that you can finish work whenever you choose. However, when it comes to accessing your super, it all starts with your date of birth. The age at which you can access your super will first depend on what is called your preservation age. As you can see from this table, your preservation age can be between the ages of 55 to 60. Please take a moment now just to identify what is your preservation age. For a lot of our members, age 60 is the magic age. Not only because that is their preservation age for people born after the 1st of July 1964, but age 60 is also the age at which you may access your super tax-free once you've met your condition of release. As super is primarily designed to give you an income retirement, there are those specific rules relating to when you can access your money. First of those release conditions is permanent retirement. You've finished work and you do not intend to work in the future. Another release condition can be ceasing employment after age 60. So you can also access some of your funds from 60 onwards if you do leave your employer and go to another job. And that other job can be full-time, part-time, or casual. What is maybe the ultimate release condition is turning age 65. Once you reach your 65th birthday, you've got full access to your super, whether you're working or not. Now, please, defined benefit members, please note this does not apply to you. Another release condition is transitioning to retirement. Once you've reached your preservation age, you've also got the option of setting up a transition to retirement income stream account. There are several other conditions of release, generally in relation to ill health or severe financial hardship as defined by the ATO. But for many members, reaching a preservation age, a transition to retirement account or TTR account gives them options to work towards retirement. Let's take a look at transition to retirement accounts. Now, I do want you to keep in mind that by accessing your super prior to retirement, you really do need to consider the impact on your future retirement lifestyle. There are a range of reasons why people might consider a transition to retirement account. Probably the main one of those is to work less. By reducing your working hours and then drawing the difference in income from your super, you can ease yourself into retirement. People can also use a transition to retirement account to boost their super. This might involve increasing their before tax contributions to super, but then topping up their income by drawing a tax-free income if they're after age 60. People quite often now are looking at using a TTR to pay down debt. If you want to pay down debt, such as your mortgage, a transition to retirement account may be one way to achieve this. And another reason that people might use it is for estate planning. This is using a similar process to the first option that we mentioned, but it will change the taxable and tax-free components of your superannuation balance. Now, all four of these options can be complex. Before taking any action, please consider personal advice. But let's take a closer look at the transition to retirement rules. You do need a minimum of $50,000 in your accumulation account to start a Brighter Super TTR pension. Under federal government rules, the maximum amount that most people can have in an income stream is currently $1.9 million. But everyone does have their own individual balance cap, transfer cap. We recommend that members check your own transfer balance cap on MyGov. Now, when it's in a transition to retirement account, you can choose from a range of investment options ranging from lower to higher risk. There are also single asset classes, diversified options, and socially responsible investment options. You then need to decide how much you're going to receive for your income. Now, there is currently a minimum of a 4% payment of your balance and a maximum 10% balance of your TTR account balance. And this is recalculated on the 1st of July each year. Payments can be made to you fortnightly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or even annually based on your needs. If you are still working and your employer is still making contributions on your behalf, you may be required to retain an accumulation account. If you are retaining an accumulation account, you must leave the required minimum balance in that accumulation account. Currently, the minimum is $8,000. Again, for our defined benefit members, transition to retirement accounts operate a bit differently, so please reach out to Brighter Super for more information. Let's have a bit of a closer look at how a TTR income stream may work for a member. So here's another hypothetical member, Shane. Shane's 60 and he's been working for about 38 years. So he really is looking forward to easing his way into retirement. He has spoken to his employer and he's actually looking to reduce his working hours to 3 days per week. But Shane also needs to maintain a similar level of income to his current full-time income. So Shane speaks to an advisor and gets personal advice, and he decides to transfer $180,000 into the transition to retirement pension account. He then draws down the maximum amount, 10%, and he receives it as a fortnightly income. So overall, Shane is receiving a gross income of $42,000 a year annually from his employer, and he's topping it up with an additional $18,000 tax-free from his super. If he had remained working full-time, his gross annual salary would have been about $70,000. Generally speaking, Shane would be able to maintain a similar level of after-tax income while also being able to reduce his working hours. As we've said before, everyone's situation is different, so please do seek further advice as to what is right for you. What about when you're ready to start your own retirement journey? What happens then? Well, for most people, super is going to be the second most significant investment after the family home. The importance of super doesn't stop just because you've finished work. The good news for you is that you can continue to use your superannuation as an investment and income vehicle once you've stopped working. You've got the option to choose how and when you access your money. For many members, a superannuation income stream is a convenient and tax-effective way to access their money. So please, remember, you must have reached your preservation age and met a condition of release to access your super. Setting up a pension account is really quite similar, quite easy and similar to a transition to retirement account. you do need to open it with a minimum of $50,000. You need to decide how you want it invested. You can change your investment strategy at any time. You also need to select the amount that you wish to receive and keep in mind that that is recalculated on the 1st of July each year. You choose the frequency of your payments, and once you've got full access to your super, once you're retired, if you move your money into an income stream account, you must take out a certain amount each financial year. We'll have a look at that on another slide. So I mentioned that you had to withdraw a minimum amount each year, and this amount that you have to draw increases over time as you age. The minimum depends on your age listed on this slide. Now, over the past 2 years, the withdrawal minimum was actually halved, but on the 1st of July 2023, it reverted back to the standard minimum. So an example we can see, if a member was to establish an income stream with $100,000 at age 63, they must withdraw at least $4,000 in that financial year, 4% of $100,000. So this minimum is recalculated at the start of each financial year on the 1st of July. Once an income stream is established, a member's not allowed to add contributions to a pension account. However, once meeting a condition of release, additional partial withdrawals can be made at any time from that income stream on top of the regular payments you're receiving. Apart from the convenience of receiving an income stream, there are also tax concessions that may apply. As superannuation is an investment vehicle, earnings made by the fund are assessable for tax in the accumulation account phase. This means that the returns you're receiving on your accumulation account are net of tax. This tax is paid for you by the fund. However, if a member moves into a pension account, the investment earnings become tax-free. When you move from an accumulation or transition to retirement account into a retirement income stream account, you may be eligible to receive a retirement reward. And this may be a part refund of the tax that the fund has put aside. This reward would be paid into your pension account. The amount of any reward you may receive depends on a number of things. It might depend on the amount of money that you transfer into a pension account. It would also depend on the current investment market conditions. It depends on the amount of tax that we've set aside and what you've invested during the period leading up to your transfer. It also depends on the investment options you're investing in at the time of your transfer. It's important to know that there will be times when there may be no reward, and this will be as a result of any or all of the above conditions. Please also be aware of a 12-month rule. If you are eligible for the retirement reward, you've got to be aware that there's a rule concerning withdrawals from your pension account within the first 12 months. If you withdraw 75% or more of your pension account within 12 months of receiving the retirement reward, your entire reward will be reversed. Once you've passed the 12-month period, you can make a withdrawal and still keep the entire reward. Please refer to the Brighto Super website for more information about the retirement reward. Now, let's just recap the ways in which you may access your super when you're eligible. So when you retire, you've got 3 account type options when moving into retirement. First of those is retaining your current accumulation account. There is no requirement to set up a pension account. With an accumulation account, you've got investment options to choose from, you can make withdrawals, and you can also contribute subject to your contribution rules. There are also tax concessions on preservation age prior to age 60, and there's no tax on withdrawals after age 60. Investment earnings in an accumulation account can be taxed at up to 15%. You may want to start a transition to retirement account. This is a way to access your super as an income stream while you're still working. In a TTR, you've got investment options to choose from, and you must withdraw between a minimum of 4% of the balance and a maximum of 10%. In a transition to retirement account, you cannot make additional lump sum withdrawals while you're still working. In a transition to retirement account, investment earnings are also taxed at up to 15%. The third option is a pension account. Upon meeting conditions of release, including getting to your preservation age or reaching age 65, you can draw an income as a pension account. There is a minimum withdrawal that is required annually, and that's based on your age, but there is no maximum. In a retirement pension account, you are also able to withdraw a lump sum amount and you enjoy tax-free investment earnings. You can choose which option or combination of options best suits your retirement. Personal advice can assist in helping your super last the distance. Brighter Super offers personal advice services to members, and we'll talk about more details in this shortly. Another consideration that people should take when choosing their investment options is their time frame. How long will they be leaving their funds invested for, or how long will they be invested for before they need to access them? Everybody's time frame is different, just as everybody's attitude towards risk is different. I'm now going to hand over to one of our fantastic financial advisors, Gabby. Before I do, just a reminder that if you would like to ask any questions throughout tonight's presentation, you can submit your questions by clicking on the blue hand on the top of your screen. Over to you, Gabby.
Thanks, Pete. Hi, my name's Gabby Williams and I'm one of the financial advisors with Brighter Super. Today, I'm going to take you through some of the tools that we have available to help assist you in making decisions about your investment choices. Often when I'm talking to people about investment choice, the question I get asked is, what is the best way to invest my super? And as you could probably imagine, this is not a one single investment option or profile that's going to suit everyone. In fact, there's a number of different things to consider when choosing the right risk profile for you. So what is a risk profile? A risk profile is an individual measure of how you feel about risk and return, keeping in mind that there's always a trade-off between those two. It takes into account your tolerance to market falls, as well as your investment time frame and desired return outcomes. Now, in a perfect world, we'd all love high returns without any drops, but that investment option doesn't exist, unfortunately. So generally speaking, the more risk you take, the better return you should expect over time, but the greater chance of bigger swings in your investment value. So for example, an aggressive investment is expected to generate a higher rate of return over the long term. However, it is likely to fluctuate more in value. What this means is your investment may grow faster over time. However, it will tend to lose more when the market dips and will produce more frequent negative return years. A more conservative investment, on the other hand, is likely to have fewer negative return years and may not drop as far as the aggressive investment during a downturn. But the trade-off for this lower downside risk is returns are expected to be lower over the long term. So understanding your risk profile and your investment risk is important to help better prepare for market movements and make an informed decision. There is a risk to being invested outside of your risk profile. So if you're invested too conservatively, you may obviously be missing out on potential returns that you could have had. If you invest too aggressively, you may see greater falls during market instability than you're comfortable with. Both of these scenarios are not going to give you the optimal outcome, so it's important to know where you sit. As a starting point, you can find the Investment Risk Profiler on the Brighter Super website. Just click on the Resources tab. It's an 8-question questionnaire. It's going to ask you how you feel about negative returns, what action you may take given market instability, and what your superannuation goals are. Once you finish the questionnaire, it's going to then provide you with your result and some information about the type of investor you are based on your responses. Now just keep in mind when answering the questions, I'd encourage you to consider the bigger picture. Look, we're all the same. When someone asks us how we feel about a negative return, none of us likes it. No one likes to get a negative return. This, though, is where understanding your investment time frame becomes really important. So, for example, if you're in your 40s and you know you're still at least 20 years away from being able to access your superannuation, a negative return is going to feel very different from someone in their 60s who's thinking about retiring fairly soon. It is also important to note, though, even if you are closer to retirement, your investment time frame may be longer than you think. Retirement isn't necessarily a line in the sand where you're no longer invested in super. Like Pete was saying, when you retire, you may choose to leave your money in super, or you may move it across into a pension account where it's still invested and it's still going to earn investment returns. So obviously what we're hoping is that your super is going to last you the rest of your life. So that might mean that you're invested for the next 10, 20 to 30 years, hopefully. Once you've completed the risk profiler questionnaire, you'll be provided with information about your profile to help you make an investment choice. However, it is important to note the risk profiler tool doesn't provide you with a recommendation on where to invest your super. It's just giving you information to help you make that choice. If you do want to take the next step and get a little bit of help on finding the best investment option for you, you can book an appointment with one of our intra-fund advisors. So this type of advice is included in your fund membership, and the initial conversation is usually done over the phone and takes about 20 to 40 minutes. It's going to be much the same process. So the advisor is going to run through some questions with you to get a little bit of an idea of your risk profile. But what's really helpful is you're talking to a person who can then answer some of your questions and discuss the questions with you a little bit further. Importantly, at the end of the conversation, they can actually make a recommendation on where to invest your superannuation based on the results of that risk profile. What they'll do is provide you with a statement of advice. So now you have a written resource that explains a bit more about your risk profile and the investment mix that they're recommending, as well as the change in any investment fees as a result of the advice. We also have a tool on the website that models your retirement and how you're tracking towards your retirement goal. So just a little warning with modelling tools, they all depend on assumptions. So take them with a grain of salt, but it does give you a little bit of an estimate on how you're tracking to your retirement and what may be achievable. Depending on what your level of assets are and how much you need to fund your desired retirement lifestyle, you may find that you don't really need to take on a lot of risk with your investments to hit those retirement goals. On the other hand, you may be the opposite, and maybe you need to reevaluate your financial position, your goals, or your risk tolerance in order to hit those goals. For most of us, we're going to need to take on some risk to hit our long-term goals. We don't really have the luxury of just investing in cash and being able to fund that comfortable retirement. But the retirement income calculator will give you some idea of that. There's an option on there where you can toggle both your pre-retirement and post-retirement investment options, so you can play around with what kind of difference that would make to your retirement outcome. If you are getting close to retirement, and particularly if you're over the age of 60, it may be worth getting in touch with a comprehensive financial advisor to truly understand your position and how best to meet your retirement goals. We're able to tailor your investments to your individual situation to ensure you're taking the right steps to find that balance between risk and return. For this type of service, we do charge an advice fee, but it is a very tailored and personal advice service, and we can provide advice to members and non-members, so partners are welcome, and we can give you advice on your superannuation and external investments outside of superannuation also. I find that this type of advice is usually the most helpful when you've reached a milestone birthday. So 60 is a big one, obviously. 65 is also a good time to review, or even age pension age. And obviously, if you're starting to think seriously about retirement, that's probably good timing to sit down with someone. I'll hand back to Pete now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gabby. Definitely the difference between a good and a great retirement is getting the right advice. Pardon me. So where else might your retirement income come from? For many members, superannuation may not quite be enough to fund their comfortable lifestyle. This is where the age pension may come in. Eligibility for age pension entitlements does require you to have reached your age pension age. And this again is based on the year that you were born. Pardon me. You need to pass either an assets or an income test. If you're part of a couple, Centrelink will apply these tests to both of you to determine your age pension eligibility. The age pension as we know it was introduced in the Constitution, and it attained its current form around 1907. An interesting fact was the age pension age for males back in 1907 was age 65. And back then, average life expectancy was only 58. So essentially, you had to outlive the majority of people to qualify for the age pension. Once you have reached that age pension age, there are the two tests that may apply. First of all, let's look at the assets test. So the amounts on the screen are the maximum in assets you can have. One thing to keep in mind is that the home you live in and up to 2 hectares of land are exempt from the assets test. Now, assets may include money in super, investment properties, cash in the bank, or a share portfolio. Also includes your household goods. The other test that they do is the income test. The amounts that you can see on the screen are the maximum that you and your partner can earn and still potentially be considered for the age pension. For more information about this, I really would recommend speaking with Centrelink or a financial advisor, and they can help you achieve the best outcome. If you are eligible for the age pension, how much are you likely to receive? If you do qualify for the full age pension, these are the current benefits. I'd like you to think back and compare these numbers to the income determined for someone looking for a comfortable or even a modest lifestyle. It's fair to say that for most people, living on solely the age pension will mean compromising on their comfortable lifestyle. Your lifestyle is specific to you, and this is going to determine how much you need in retirement. Please think about how much it is you're spending now and what you think may change in the future. For a lot of the members that I talk to, with the age pension, it's not so much around the money from the age pension that's important, it's the concession cards. These concession cards can make a big difference by giving you discounts on everyday spending, particularly in retirement. Now, you can get the pensioner concession card if you receive certain payments from Services Australia or Centrelink. These discounts can help with the cost of healthcare, medicines, and some other costs. If you're not eligible for the pension concession card, there may still be other options. Available for Queensland residents, for example, you may be eligible to apply for the Queensland Seniors Card. This is an income-tested card, and it does also provide discounts in certain areas. More information around the concession cards are best found on Centrelink's website. Now, as part of your overall retirement plan, it is also essential to think about your estate planning needs. You'll need to give your super fund instructions as to what will happen to your money in the event of your passing. Super funds can generally only pay super balances to a dependent, generally a spouse, a child or children, someone who's financially dependent, or someone that you're in an interdependent relationship with. Now, there are 3 types of beneficiary nominations. There's a preferred nomination, and a good way to look at that is more of a guide as to how you would like the benefit distributed in the event of your death. You can nominate a preferred nomination online, and there's no expiry date on this. Now, if you have a preferred nomination on file, Brighter Super is legally required to identify all of your dependents and pay out your super according to the rules set out in the Brighter Super trust deed. Preferred nomination is more of a guide. A binding nomination is legally binding, and that binds Brighter Super to pay your death benefit to your nominated beneficiary or beneficiaries, and this must be completed in writing, not online, and your beneficiaries must be a dependent or your legal personal representative, and the nomination must be valid at your time of passing. Now, binding nominations can be valid for a maximum of 3 years, and we will notify you prior to expiry. You do also have the option of a non-lapsing binding beneficiary nomination. It's the same as the above, but it has no expiry date. It is important to understand what type of nomination you have and regularly review it to ensure that your nomination remains valid. A third type of beneficiary nomination only applies to pension accounts, income stream accounts, and that's called a reversionary nomination. The nomination of a reversionary beneficiary will allow the fund to continue to pay the pension account to the beneficiary, generally your spouse. Now, we have covered a fair amount of information in a pretty short period of time tonight, so you might be wondering, where do you go to from here? Well, at Brighter Super, our focus is on servicing our members. If you do have more questions about your super, you can always book in for a super health check. These are included as part of your membership. We've got a team that are regularly in the workplace all over Queensland, providing one-on-one general information to help you understand your super. If they're not coming to your workplace, you're also able to book in through the website for a phone or a digital meeting, generally over Teams or Zoom. And you can do these in the comfort of your own home or from your workplace. Once you've got that information you need, personal advice can give you the roadmap to achieve a comfortable retirement. And I'm going to hand over to Gabby again to run through our advice offering.
Thanks, Pete. We offer a range of personal advice options that are suited to individual members' needs. If you're looking for specific information about making contributions or picking an investment strategy, our limited advice team can help. Booking an over-the-phone meeting with a financial advisor to discuss this at no additional cost, as it is included with your membership with Brighter Super. We also offer a more comprehensive personal advice service. This service takes a complete view of your financial situation to tailor advice to suit your individual needs, and is a face-to-face meeting with one of our advice team in Brisbane and various regions throughout Queensland. Appointments can also be arranged through digital channels.
Thank you, Gabby. And I know Gabby and our advisors help our members have fantastic retirements every single day of the week. Now, webinars like this one are a great way to get specific information on a variety of topics. This is not the only webinar that we have held or we will be holding. If you do go to our website or scan the QR code on the screen, you'll be able to find out what is coming up. Please make sure you check this page regularly, as we are often adding new dates and new topics. Now, if you do register for a webinar, regardless of if you attend, you will receive a copy of the recording the day following the webinar. So, where do we go to from here? There's been a lot covered tonight, and I hope it has proved useful too. It's never too early to start planning for your retirement. And with your plan, step one, take the time to think when we finish here tonight, what is your retirement plan looking like? What is your comfortable retirement? Step two, please book a super health check with one of our consultants or talk to one of our financial advisors. And please make sure you speak to us to get some advice before accessing your superannuation. Well, thanks again for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. I really do hope that you've got a lot of useful information out of here. We are now going to welcome some of your questions. So if you would like to ask a question, again, simply click on the blue hand on your screen. We're going to endeavour to get through as many of the questions as possible tonight, but please rest assured, if we're not able to get to your question tonight, we will come back to you in the coming days. So we've had, Gabby, quite a few questions come through from our members. It's always good to see questions. The first one I might hand over to you because it is around contributions. Mm-hmm. And the question is, can a downsizer be added to a pension account, or does it need to go into an accumulation account?
Well, the simple answer is it needs to go into an accumulation account. Like Pete mentioned, you can't add money to a pension account once you set one up. However, that doesn't mean that it can't be moved into a pension account once you've made the contribution. Okay,
so contributions, including the downsizer, need to go into an accumulation account.
That's right.
Fantastic. Another question is about taking money out of super. So if after age 65, I want to draw a lump sum from my pension account, for example, to buy a home, what balance needs to be left in the pension account? Well, with a pension account, there actually isn't a minimum balance. There's a minimum balance of $50,000 to open it, but you can essentially draw your pension account down to zero. Gabby, this one is definitely something that you deal with on a daily basis. If I'm self-employed, can I set up a transition to retirement account and receive tax-free income to reduce my hours, but still contribute and claim up to $27,500 as I'm still working?
Simple answer, yes. Being self-employed doesn't make any difference to when you can access your superannuation or the contributions you can make. So you have exactly the same rules as someone who's working for an employer. Just keep in mind those rules that Pete was talking about. You have to meet preservation age. You have a limit on how much you can take out and how much you can put in, obviously. But those rules are the same regardless of whether you're self-employed or working for an employer.
Yeah, I would think if someone's looking at setting up a transition to retirement account and increasing their contributions, it would be a great thing to get advice about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Another one here, actually around the age of 65 for you, Gabby. If I leave my full-time job after I turn 65 and I take up another job, full-time or part-time, can I access all of my superannuation tax-free from a pension account?
Well, I guess keep in mind that even after the age of 65, if you're working, you probably need an account to make contributions into. So you probably still want to keep an accumulation account open. But once you're over the age of 65, super is very flexible. You can pull money out of it pretty much as you wish. But again, one of those questions where give us a call and we can discuss your personal circumstances in a bit more detail.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be the case. So just to recap, if you're wanting to make contributions into super, it needs to go into an accumulation account. You can't make additional contributions into a pension account, but once it's in an accumulation account, there are strategies for getting that into a pension account as well. So I actually spoke to someone about this just yesterday, Gab, so I might take this one. So with beneficiaries, if you are single and have no children or previous spouses, who can you leave your super to if you die? Could that not be another relative, for example, a sister? So with a binding nomination, people can leave it to those dependents, so a child, a spouse, someone who's financially dependent. Generally, if you're wanting to leave it to anyone outside of those dependents, it would actually need to be left to your estate. So essentially your estate could distribute it. So if someone maybe wanted it to go to their sister, they may nominate their estate or the legal personal representative as the beneficiary. The fund would pay the benefit to the estate, and then the estate would distribute it to the person there. Definitely if you've got questions around who is your super going to go to, and it's a very valid question, please speak to the fund, because it's the type of thing that you want to get set up well before it's needed. And maybe the last question here, Gabby, I might hand this one to you. When your super is paid to your beneficiary through a binding nomination, is it paid as a lump sum or like to a bank account, or does it remain in a super account? If it's a lump sum, is it taxable?
Oh, that's a big question. So your beneficiary actually has some options depending on who they are and how old they are. So sometimes a beneficiary may have to take it as a lump sum, but sometimes they may also have the option of setting up a pension account with that money. It just depends who they are and how old they are, all that kind of thing. The tax question is also quite a big question. Usually someone has to be financially dependent on you to receive it tax-free. So we're talking about spouse is always considered financially dependent, whether you both work or not. Children who are dependent on you, or someone who's in an interdependent relationship with you. One thing that probably concerns most people is adult children. So they're no longer dependent. So they could potentially be taxed on that superannuation that they inherit. So this is another good reason for getting some financial advice. If you're looking at managing that tax, there are some strategies we can talk about to potentially get that down.
Yeah, fabulous, Gabby. Yeah, I do know that you and the other advisors, when you're providing advice around estate planning, it's not just around having a beneficiary nomination on file, it's also making that sure that as much as possible is going to your loved ones and as little as possible is going to the taxman.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for your questions, and thank you for spending your time with us this evening. I do just have one final reminder that you can download the reference guide. It's definitely going to be helpful to you. And as a refresher, it's up in the top right-hand corner of the webinar page. And what you're looking for is a blue pointing down arrow. Before we conclude, I do just want to remind everyone that Brighter Super is now open to everyone. Brighter Super does have a very proud history of serving members in local government, energy and electrical sectors, and now in the financial services sector. As an open fund, we welcome members from many other sectors and the broader community. To learn how your spouse, your friends, or your broader family can join, please go to brightersuper.com.au. I would also like to remind you of our friends and family offer. So former LGIA Super members and Energy Super members have long enjoyed this, and from September, just a couple of days, we're excited to extend this to our former Suncorp Super members. You can start referring friends and family to join Brighter Super. To do this, simply log into your member online and you'll retrieve your personal referral link. Share that with your friends and family, and you could actually receive a $100 voucher for each person that you refer to Brighter Super. Now, we really do value your feedback, and we would appreciate it if you could leave us a Google review or a product review. Please simply scan the QR code on your screen. These reviews do assist us with our brand recognition, but also developing our customer service. So we would really appreciate your feedback. I'd also like to encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. You can get all the latest updates on news, webinars, and all things super there. Well, that draws to a close our webinar this evening. I really do hope that this presentation was beneficial to you as you plan for your retirement. Thank you again for attending, and please have a terrific night. Good night.